Hello, 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 hello. Welcome to the Oyster Ninja Podcast. I am your host, Gardner Douglas. I am doing something that I've never done before, and that's going live from an um, outside location, I guess, from an outside source. And I'm trying to figure this out. So I appreciate y'all for tuning in. Appreciate you for bearing with me. If you can't hear me, let me know. If you can't see me, let me know. Um, so hopefully you've been following me on the Oyster Ninja podcast, social media page, and also on SS Shucking, which is the mobile oyster bar. And I've been slightly hinting around that I'm going to be doing something different. And that difference is talking about oysters as it relates to life, which is different. Different because usually on the podcast, what I'm doing is I'm interviewing people who are dealing with oysters, whether they could be oyster shuckers, oyster farmers, nonprofits that help the Chesapeake Bay or the ocean, um, different things like that. But I was recently on a podcast. Not recently, but actually, yes, recently, but more so on a lot of podcasts. People always talk to me about oysters and how it's changed my life, and there's always one answer that kind of hits home for me. Not like one particular answer, but there's always like a feeling that I guess is really more so gratitude. I have gratitude towards the oyster and what it's done for me and my life and how it's changed my life and changed my mindset also. So what I wanted to do was actually talk to you guys about oysters and how it's changed my life and how also I have I get or how oysters in my life correspond. So again, if you haven't tuned into the Oyster Ninja podcast, we have great conversations, laid back conversations. Um, we dive in, if you want to say that, we dive into different different avenues, and it's really amazing how we can relate or how oysters and aquaculture really does change people's lives for the better, for the better. And I'm trying to figure this out. Too many screens here. I guess first of all, if you can hear me, I mean, I guess I should have started with that. If you can hear me, say hey or something, because I don't think, I don't know how I can tell if this is even working or not. Maybe I just go for it, and whatever happens, happens. Maybe that's how we should do it. But again, what I'm going to be talking about is how oysters correlates to real life things. Bear with me for just a second, and I will get started. And of course, if you listen to the podcast, this is not how things usually go. I guess I should have done like a test run or to see if this was actually working. Hold on, but it does say, I'm not gonna lie, it says that 5 people are watching this. So I'm gonna take I'm gonna take the word of this device and assume that it's working correctly. All right, let's just jump into it. And I thank y'all. If it's 5 people watching, thank you guys for watching. If you know me personally, shoot me a text and let me know this is working because I can't see anything. It doesn't. I thought it was gonna be like comments popping up, and I thought it was gonna be like, "Hey, I'm here." 9 people, 11 people, 11 people are watching. If you know me personally, shoot me a text or shoot me an email at Oyster Ninja PC. I can't see anything. Okay, let's get into it. All right. So what I wanted to talk about is how today, and I'm gonna try to do this weekly or monthly. I don't know. It depends on how you guys react to it. But I wanted to talk about oysters and life. Today I'm gonna be talking about patience. Now how do I want to say this? How oysters and real life, you both need patience. This is super simple, I think, but let's think about it. With oysters, there's a process. Okay, you get your oyster seed, and you gotta feed the oysters. You gotta make sure they have a healthy environment. With that healthy environment and with the right food, they'll grow. Right. They get to a certain size, and then you have to move them off to another stage of their growing process. Let's stop right there. Let's stop it right there. That's us, right? We're born into this world not knowing where to move, where to grow. We only really can do what somebody else tells us to do. Where somebody else holds our hand and guides us and leads us to, we hope, the right path. And then we learn some things and we go to another destination. Again, still being guided. But in this all, we have to have patience. So with the oysters, you got to have patience because you're looking at a 2 to 3 year process, depending on the location and how you're growing these oysters. With life, you got to have patience. Everything is not going to happen when you want it, how you want it. You got to come up with a plan. You got to come up with a plan of execution. I just got an email. Is it somebody telling me that, Gardner, we can hear you? It is not. It is not. Okay. Have patience. Have patience. This experience, we got to have patience. Look at this. Life lessons. Life lessons right now in this moment are telling me, Gardner, next time do a dry run. Make sure that we can hear your audio. Share this with somebody. Oh yeah, you guys also share this with somebody. Oh man, this is not going good also, because now I got one person looking. It said 10 a while ago. Maybe the conversation is not good. Um, Patience. Oh man. So again, with oysters, it takes time. Nothing happens overnight. It's no such thing as overnight success with oysters or life. As it correlates with me, hopefully you guys have been following me on this journey. Um, I started shucking oysters in my early 20s, and I wouldn't even say immediately, but with time, I grew to love this life. Um, I, my dad once said that I was a lot faster of an oyster shucker when I first started, compared to where I was now. But I was also I was fast, but what comes with speed is sloppiness. So I had to slow down. I had to have patience. As I grew in my oyster shucking skills, I really understood the patience part of it because as I slowed down, I realized it wasn't just about opening the oyster. It was more so about being kind to the oyster and being kind to the process, embracing the process. Um, if you disrespect the process, it shows. There's no way of getting around it. There's no shortcuts. You got to go through the entire process. So have patience. Love patience. As I started shucking oysters and getting fairly good at it, um, it became a zen place for me. It became a place where I could reflect, think about the day, think about life and times, think about things that had happened, things that were good, things that were bad. But it was like all in that process of opening oysters. And you know, another funny part is while I'm reflecting, it gave me time to pass those reflections on to the people who were, getting oysters while I'm shucking. Because, you can be engaging at an oyster party or oyster event, but there comes a time where people just want oysters and they don't really want to talk to you. And that's fine. It's a part of the process. But people start opening up to you when you're shucking these oysters. And they start telling you, prime example, I had this one person that I met, one of the most memorable, actually, um, first oyster stories that I can think of right now. The guy had his first oyster right after he divorced his wife. He was in New Orleans and he was at a bar. He had just signed the papers, divorce papers, I guess. And he decided he wanted to try oysters. And from that experience, he is now an oyster lover. And I just found that so remarkable that, out of that frustration, out of that bad event, because nobody wants to, lose their, not lose their spouse, but end their relationship. But things happen, and I didn't get into whose fault it was or what happened. That's none of my business. But right now, our commonality is oysters. Commonality, yeah. And he had an oyster and he loved it. And he had never had an oyster before. And I'm not sure why that story came to mind, but it's just crazy how, oh, I know. So while reflecting, I could give him a little insight. Of course, I've never been through divorce, but I've lost people. Um, and I've separated from people who just wasn't right for me. It's nothing wrong with change. It's nothing wrong with starting over, honestly. But if I hadn't had patience and calmness, and if I wasn't going through that thought process, maybe I wouldn't been able to give him a little wisdom. Of course, he was older than me, but you can get wisdom from anybody. You can get wisdom from a child. That pureness and that innocence is sometimes what you need to get to the next level. We forget sometimes where we've been and what we come from. And it's good to reflect on those moments. I don't want to drag this out, but I did want to come on here and start doing these short little talks and just like oysters, having patience for it to go through the process. Life, our life, day to day life, minute to minute, second to second. We need patience also. Take a breather. It's okay. It's okay to take a breather. It's okay to step back. It's okay to have some quiet time. A place where you wouldn't necessarily think of getting quiet time, but it works for me sometimes, in the right environment is the bathroom. And I'm talking about like just going to the bathroom, not going to the bathroom, but finding that just away space where I can, especially if I'm getting overwhelmed, just step back, cool out. Maybe you don't have to go to the bathroom. Maybe you can go outside of the bathroom, but just reflect, cool out, bring it back down, bring it back down, and and come back to your even space and have patience. You know, it takes a long time for a pearl to form. You know that piece of sand or grit or whatever has to find its way in that oyster, and it has to start forming that shell around it, and it takes time. It takes patience. I don't know. Maybe this will work. Maybe it won't work. But let me know what you think. Maybe this would just be a time where you can just sit back and reflect on what could you use more patience in. Could you use more patience when talking to your spouse, talking to your kids? Could you use more patience when it comes to getting that final draft in? Just slow down. Slow down. That's all I got for you. Again, maybe you can use this. Maybe you can find a nugget in it. If not, that's cool. But let me know what you think. This is Gardner Douglas, your Oyster Ninja. Tune into the Oyster Ninja podcast. This is my first time doing this. Again, maybe it'll work, maybe it won't. Who knows? Um, but I got some exciting episodes coming up. I got Oyster Boy from Toronto. I just had Jetty Rock on the. I just interviewed them. I got Galway Oysters. I forget the name right now, but I got a bunch of episodes coming up. So tune in. Maybe this will be a once a month thing. This might be a little too deep for me. But I'm enjoying the process of this podcast, and maybe I'll take these words of wisdom, words and nuggets um, somewhere else on another platform. But until the next time, peace, love, and shuck on. Now let's see if I can figure out how to close this.